Welcome to Jazz Piano Skills. I'm Dr. Bob Lawrence. It's time to discover, learn, and play jazz piano. Well. Here we are starting week 3 of our 3-week exploration of the jazz standard, There Will Never Be Another You. Week 1, 2 weeks ago, we took a deep dive into the harmonic foundation of the tune, followed by last week's discussion of the melody, to be followed up today with a challenging look at various ways to use There Will Never Be Another You to develop our improvisational skills. What's great about our 3-tier approach, harmony, melody, improvisation, to studying tunes is that it quickly reveals, and I mean quickly reveals, our strengths and weaknesses regarding various essential jazz piano skills. And how important is it that we actually know our strengths and weaknesses? Well, the bottom line is that there's no way to improve our playing without having an accurate understanding, an accurate assessment of our playing. And the last couple of weeks' podcast episode lessons, and today's lesson, do exactly that. They give us a no bars hold report card, if you will, of where we stand with our ability to play critical jazz piano skills. I made a point to mention last week and the week before that there is a sequential order to learn how to play jazz piano, right? There is a sequential order to learning how to play jazz piano, which really shouldn't surprise anyone, right? After all, I can't think of one high-level skill that you can successfully develop without having a strategic game plan. I can confidently guarantee you that a scattershot approach or YouTube approach to trying to learn how to play jazz piano will only cause frustration, confusion, and ultimately your raising of a white flag. So my goal from day one with jazz piano skills has been to not only introduce you to essential jazz piano skills, discover, but to also provide you with a way to successfully study the skills, learn, and a process for developing a physical command of the skills, play, right? That's where I get discover, learn, play. Now, I also mentioned last week that if you've been a faithful jazz piano skills listener for the past 4+ years, you have become intimately familiar with the jazz piano skills needed to begin tune study. And I also mentioned that if you haven't been grinding along with us over the past 4 years, there's no worries, right? This is a great time to jump on board to begin developing and enhancing your jazz piano skills. The tune study that we are going to do every month will help you sift through and prioritize the last 4 years of podcast episodes so that you can begin maximizing your jazz piano skills immediately. So if you're a jazz piano skills old-timer or you're a newbie to jazz piano skills, makes no difference. You are in the right place at the right time to begin a jazz piano journey that will have a profound impact on your understanding of music, and of course, on your jazz piano playing. So today, you are going to discover an improvisational developmental approach for There Will Never Be Another You. And you are going to learn improvisational zones, patterns, and motifs for There Will Never Be Another You. And you're going to play ascending and descending patterns and motifs through the changes of There Will Never Be Another You. So as I always like to say, regardless of where you are in your jazz journey, a beginner, an intermediate player, advanced player, or even if you consider yourself a seasoned and experienced professional, you're going to find this Jazz Piano Skills podcast lesson exploring There Will Never Be Another You to be very beneficial. But before we get started, I want to, as I always do, welcome first-time listeners to Jazz Piano Skills. And if you are indeed a new listener to the Jazz Piano Skills podcast, if you're new to Jazz Piano Skills, I want to invite you to become a Jazz Piano Skills member. Your membership will grant you access to the premium content for this podcast episode and every weekly podcast episode. Now, premium content will help you thoroughly and correctly discover, learn, and play the jazz standard we are currently exploring, and as the old saying goes, so much, much more. For example, as a Jazz Piano Skills member, you can access the past, current, and future educational weekly podcast packets. These are the illustrations, the lead sheets, the play-alongs or backing tracks that I design and develop to help you get the most out of each weekly Jazz Piano Skills podcast episode. You also have access to a self-paced and sequential jazz piano curriculum, which is loaded with comprehensive courses containing educational talks, interactive learning media, there's video demonstrations, and much more. You also have a reserved seat, as I like to say, in my online weekly masterclasses, which are held every Thursday evening. Now, if you can't attend, no problem. Masterclasses are recorded, and you can watch and rewatch the video of the class whenever and as often as you wish. You can also have access as a Jazz Piano Skills member to our online interactive fake book containing must-know jazz standards with excellent chord changes, chord scale relationships mapped out for you, harmonic function analysis, listening suggestions, historical insights, and of course, more. As a Jazz Piano Skills member, you can hang out with old and make some new jazz piano friends in the online private Jazz Piano Skills community, which hosts a variety of engaging forums. And finally, last but certainly not least, your Jazz Piano Skills membership grants you unlimited private, personal, and professional educational support whenever and as often as you need it. All of these amazing privileges are waiting to help you discover, learn, and play jazz piano. So check it all out at jazzpianoskills.com and, of course, become a member to enjoy premium podcast content and all the other privileges I just mentioned. So, of course, if you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to contact me. I'm happy to spend some time with you and answer any questions that you may have. Okay, on to the question of the week. You know, every week I receive many questions from Jazz Piano Skills listeners. And every week I am reminded of just how much we are all on the same team. In other words, all of us deal with the same musical hurdles. What does this term mean? How best should I approach practicing this skill? How much time should I commit to practicing every day? This concept confuses me. I don't get it. I'm frustrated. Sound familiar? Questions and statements we all make at some point in time in our journey. All of us. And this is why I love this segment of the podcast, because all of us benefit from the questions that all of us are asking, because all of us are asking the same questions. You know, here's a quick story. In grad school, I used to have a piano teacher who made all of us show up for the lesson prior to our lesson so we could observe that lesson. Her thinking was brilliant. She would say, I want you to come in for the lesson prior to yours so you can see your challenges and find the solutions through another person. In other words, we all deal with the same musical struggles. So I love the question of the week because without question, it benefits all of us. And today's question is fabulous. It comes from Jennifer Brown, living in Nashville, Tennessee. That's a pretty good music center right there, Nashville, Tennessee. And Jennifer writes, I recently discovered that there is a major and a minor blues scale. I used to think there was only one blues scale, which I now have learned is commonly referred to as the minor blues scale. Could you please explain the difference between the two blues scales and which one do I use and when? Life was much easier when I thought there was only one blues scale. Right? Of course. Too funny, Jennifer, and I agree 100%. You know, I have always said music has a massive problem when it comes to language. I say this because only in music do we use the same terms to reference different things. The same terms to reference different things. For example, the terms major and minor, right? We use both of these terms when referring to intervals. We then use both of these terms when talking about chords. We don't stop there. We use both of these terms when we discuss scales. And we use both of these terms to identify blues scales. Right? Enough, right? Whose idea was it to use the exact same term to reference different aspects of music? To say that it's confusing is honestly, it's a massive understatement. So Jennifer, you're not alone when trying to decipher the difference between the major and minor blues scale and when to use either one of them. So let's begin by looking at the construction of each scale. The major blues scale, I'm going to do this in reference to the key of C, or based on the note C, okay, C being 1. So the major blues scale is 1, 2, flat 3, 3, 5, and 6. So we get this. Okay, the minor blues scale, 1, flat 3, 4, sharp 4, 5, flat 7. So we get this. So again, the major blues scale, the minor blues scale. The major blues scale contains a major third interval at 1 to 3. And the minor blues scale contains a minor third interval, 1 to flat 3. Right? Now, both of these scales are a pentatonic scale with the insertion of a half step, right? So C pentatonic, major pentatonic, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. And all we're doing is putting in that flat 3. The minor pentatonic, 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7. And we insert that sharp 4. Right? So insert the flat 3 for the major in the major pentatonic, and we have a major blues scale. Insert the sharp 4 in the minor pentatonic, and we have the minor blues scale. Right? It's the insertion of the half step that gives us that blues sound. And in fact, today we're going to learn just how important the half step is to producing jazz vocabulary for improvising. So, the major blues scale can be used with a major chord and a dominant chord, right? So if I play C major, it works. If I play C dominant, it works with the dominant as well. Now, the minor blues scale can be used with a minor chord. So C minor blues scale, C minor chord. It can also be used with the C dominant. So both blues scales, right, work with the dominant chord. Major chords, major blues scale, minor chords, minor blues scale, dominant chords, major or minor blues scale. I hope this helps, Jennifer. Again, I know all of these major and minor labels can get overwhelming at times, but again, you're not alone. And I promise the repetitive use of the same musical terms to reference various aspects of music, well, believe it or not, will actually get easier and make more sense as you continue to wrestle with the jargon. So hang in there. Again, let me know if you have any additional questions or if further clarification is needed. Always happy to spend some time with you and help you in any way that I can. All right, let's discover, learn, and play jazz piano. Let's discover, learn, and play There Will Never Be Another You. Part 3, an improvisation developmental approach. 2 weeks ago, I presented my outline for studying and learning any tune. And again, the genre makes no difference, right? Doesn't matter. Jazz, rock, pop, country, folk, R&B, makes no difference. So here's a quick refresher. Number 1, always listen. Always listen to various artists, right? I like to listen to vocalists first, instrumentalists second, and followed up with pianist. Now, number 2, I always determine form. What am I dealing with? AABA, ABAB, etc. Every tune has a form. Number 3, I learn the chords, the harmonic structure of the tune, right? The voicings, common harmonic progressions like 2-5-1, 1-4-5, 3-6-2-5-1, etc. Number 4, I learn melody and various treatments. I look for guide tones, phrases, target notes, fingerings. I experiment playing the tune, different grooves like ballad, bossa, swing. And then 5, finally, I explore improvisation approaches, various zones, patterns, motifs, tension. And that's it, right? Those 5 steps. Nothing more, nothing less. So 2 weeks ago, we focused on gaining a harmonic familiarity and command of There Will Never Be Another You. So we listened, determined form, and explored the chord changes, harmonic function, and voicings for There Will Never Be Another You. And last week, we focused on an in-depth melodic analysis of There Will Never Be Another You, which included guide tones, phrases, target notes, interpretation, fingerings, right, treatments. And our goal has been, and always been, to keep things really clean and tidy with our approach to studying music, right? Whether it's scale study or tune study, makes no difference. Our conceptual understanding of all that we do musically must be structured and simple so that it can be replicated over and over and over again. Now, y'all can attest to the fact that I have said it many times over the past 4 years and will continue to say it. If your conceptual understanding of music or of any musical skill is not structured and simple, then it's unorganized and confusing. And if it's unorganized and confusing conceptually, right, upstairs, you have no shot at executing it in your hands downstairs on the piano. Therefore, we will always keep our tune study very structured and very simple. So the educational agenda for today is as follows. So listen carefully. It's a lot. Number 1, we are going to begin part 3 to discover, learn, and play There Will Never Be Another You, right? An improvisation developmental approach. Number 2, we are going to listen to a definitive recording of There Will Never Be Another You. Number 3, we will discover the importance of simple math. 4 plus 3 plus 5. Number 4, we will discuss zones, patterns, and motifs. What are they? How are they different? And why are they important for developing improvisation skills? Number 5, we will unveil 2 patterns that you must absolutely and unequivocally, you must have a command of conceptually and physically if you ever hope to develop improvisation skills. Number 6, we will explore how to turn patterns into motifs that are idiomatic to jazz. Number 7, we will discover, learn, and play patterns through the changes of There Will Never Be Another You. Number 8, we will discover, learn, and play motifs through the changes, chord changes of There Will Never Be Another You. And number 9, I will be playing all the demonstrations today at a tempo of 110 using a traditional swing groove. Wow. As always, we have a ton to get done today. So if you are a Jazz Piano Skills member, I want you to take a few minutes right now, hit the pause button, and print your podcast packets. These are the illustrations, the lead sheets, and the play-alongs. Your membership grants you access to premium content for every weekly podcast episode, which includes all of the educational podcast packets. As I mentioned every week, you should be using these podcast packets when listening to this episode. And of course, you should be using them when practicing as well. So if you are listening to this podcast on any of the popular podcast directories, such as Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Pandora, the list goes on, then go directly to jazzpianoskillspodcast.com and you will find the active download links for each of the podcast packets in the show notes. Or you can log into your Jazz Piano Skills account and from your dashboard navigate to this episode where you will find one convenient link to download all 3 podcast packets in one convenient bundle. Okay, now that you have your podcast packets in your hands, I want you to grab your lead sheets. Now, and you should find in your lead sheet packet, you should find six lead sheets. Lead sheet 1 provides you root position arpeggios for the chord changes of There Will Never Be Another You. Okay, lead sheet 2 provides you with root position scales and the chord scale relationships for There Will Never Be Another You. Lead sheet 3, you see, provides you with ascending patterns and motifs focusing on various targets and tension notes for There Will Never Be Another You. Number 4, our lead sheet 4, provides you with descending patterns and motifs, again, focusing on various target and tension notes to use when playing There Will Never Be Another You. You'll see that lead sheet 5 is what I like to call an arpeggio etude with inserted tension for There Will Never Be Another You. And lead sheet 6 is a scale etude, of course, with inserted tension for There Will Never Be Another You. So no question about it, right? Some invaluable tools to discover, learn, and play today. So let's get busy. You know, the very first thing always that we should do when studying any tune and any aspect of any tune, whether it's harmonic, melodic, or improvisation, right? The number one thing that we should always do, the very first thing that we should always do, listen, right? We did it last week. We did it the week before, right? And we're going to do it again today. Listening to various renditions of tunes is not only the first, but one could very easily argue the most important step. And again, I can't imagine attempting to learn a tune before spending a whole lot of time becoming familiar with it, absorbing it, right? Listening to it. I typically listen to vocal renditions. As I mentioned earlier, I like to listen to vocal renditions first, followed by instrumentalist, and then followed by pianist, right? Bottom line, I listen, and that is what we're going to do right now before going any further. Now, 2 weeks ago, we checked out the one and only Joe Williams with Count Basie back in 1957, performing There Will Never Be Another You. And last week, we listened to the great Chet Baker in 1954 performing There Will Never Be Another You. That was kind of a twofer, right? He's an instrumentalist and vocalist. It's an iconic recording, that rendition, and that you should absolutely be familiar with it. Now, this week, we paused for a few minutes to check out a pianist playing There Will Never Be Another You. And who better to check out than the one and only Oscar Peterson, performing live at the Town Tavern in Toronto. This is 1962. So I want you to sit back, I want you to close your eyes, relax, and enjoy. It doesn't get any better than this. What can I say, right? What can I say? Heck, I don't need to say anything. If you are unfamiliar with this album, then I highly recommend checking it out. Every rendition of every tune. You Stepped Out of a Dream, I Feel Pretty, Body and Soul, just to name a few. Every rendition is absolutely fabulous. All right, so now let's explore those lead sheets, right? Grab lead sheet 1. Let's discover how to properly begin developing our improvisational skills using There Will Never Be Another You. Thank you for listening to Jazz Piano Skills. The remaining premium content of this episode is available to Jazz Piano Skills members at jazzpianoskillspodcast.com. Visit jazzpianoskills.com to learn more about membership privileges and become a Jazz Piano Skills member. Thank you.